Unfortunately, we crossed the border by mistake. They found a student ID from my brother. And this was very an unfair moment for us because they were gonna send us back to our country. And in this moment, I saw that this was not gonna be fair. And they gave me a number. They were gonna take a photo of me like prisoner. And we didn't do anything. We only came to the US for 30 days. Our visa was expiring. We joined college. And they were saying, no, you're gonna go back to your country because you were studying with a tourist visa. And that was my moment that I said, I need to speak up. This is not fair. I need to do something. If they take this photo of me with this number, then my future is ruined. I never did modeling or anything, but it just came natural. So it was a talent, a hidden talent that I had. And I feel like when you are in this survival mode, you do whatever it takes. So that was one of the amazing things that I said, wow, when I commit to something, I can do so much.
You know, there will be younger people listening to this. I want you to tell younger versions of yourself what you did to break that.
My advice to women is to speak up for themselves. If both of you guys work, then everything should be balanced at home too. And if you are a single mom, just have your kids help you and just speak up. Because I know a lot of females, they just stay quiet because they feel afraid that their man is going to leave them, is going to find someone better than them. And I just feel that men should also help at home. In the Hispanic community, that's not a rule. Usually the girls do everything and the guys just show up, and you should have food for them, clean the house. And I see that judging also from girls too. Like a lot of my Hispanic friends, they tell me, but you work and then when you come home, you don't do everything. I'm like, no, I don't.
I like what you're doing because on the flip side of the fun side of what you're doing is the real side that women now have a place where they can find support, where they can lean on each other, where they can come to you. And like that girl who said, I've been raped, you know, her mom won't believe her, but you'll believe her. And that gives her a place to say, this is not right. I can go to Paulina and she will be my rock. She will help me. She will support me. She'll find a way to do something for me. That is so much more powerful than people coming there and being able maybe to make more money as opposed to the people that you are able to help and save through your community. So I really love that you're doing it in that way. Welcome to Compassiviste Dialogues. I'm your host, Ali Horiat. My goal in this program is to educate our audience about various global issues and on how we can help. Today, we have Paulina Borrero Thomas, the creator of MUJERES Sin Límites, which in English is Women Without Limits. Today, we're going to speak about Paulina's advocacy in helping Latina women thrive in many ways. Why? Because today's world has many challenges for Latinas. And she's here to help women break through all of these obstacles. Paulina, thank you for being here. I'm going to start with your own journey that made you essentially who you are today. You are from Colombia. You came to the US for the American dream, so to speak, for that better life that you were seeking. And you started out going to med school, wanting to be a doctor. You shifted to real estate, and then you found you are a motivational speaker. And then the events creator happened with Mujeres Sin Límites. So tell me about that journey and tell me about the ups and downs and how you really came to understand that you should be here uplifting other people in their journey and creating a better space for everyone.
Great. Yeah. So I want to start with a story. My first time that I came to the US, I was 13, and unfortunately, my mom moved to the US because of violence in my country. I'm originally from Colombia. So the first time I came here, I was so excited to see my mom. And the first time I came to the US, so I was looking forward to this moment. When we came, unfortunately, we only got 30 days to stay in the US. Someone told us, you know, your visa or the time that you can be in the US is expiring. So you can just cross the border, go to Tijuana, come back, and then they put your passport maybe longer so you can stay longer, enjoy your mom. I hadn't seen my mom in like 4 years. So we started driving. one day to Tijuana with my mom and my brother. Something happened between us, like, stop here, don't go here. My mom couldn't cross the border because she was not legal. Unfortunately, we crossed the border by mistake. So we didn't even think about it. My mom was like, let's go back. Let's just tell them that we made a mistake. Maybe they can check in their cameras that we just crossed. And when we were at the border, we show our tourist visas. And it sounds suspicious. What about your mom? No, my mom, we crossed by mistake. So they thought that it was suspicious. So they send us for a second check. In this check, they take everything away, no wallets, nothing. They separate men from women, and the nightmare started. We were in like a jail for several days.
Mm.
They were trying to find out who we were, why we were there, if we were doing something suspicious. In our paperwork, they found a student ID from my brother. He decided to join the college to learn English in the beginning when he came here. Our purpose was to go back to our country and finish high school and everything. And this was very an unfair moment for us because they were gonna send us back to our country. And I truly remember seeing like a refrigerator, like something metallic that they were gonna put us there. And in this moment, I saw that this was not gonna be fair. And they gave me a number. They were gonna take a photo of me like a prisoner.
Mm.
And we didn't do anything. We only came to the US for 30 days. Our visa was expiring. We joined college. And they were saying that, no, you're going to go back to your country because you were studying with a tourist visa. And that was my moment that I said, I need to speak up. This is not fair. I need to do something. If they take this photo of me with this number, then my future is ruined.
Mm.
I started crying, and a social worker came to find out what was happening. And then we explained the whole situation. And she said, the best that I could do for you is I'm going to let you guys go to Tijuana with your mom, and you guys are on your own. And we were in Tijuana. They escorted us. They told us this car can never go back to the US. And we didn't know where to go. So we went to a motel, like cheap hotel. And my mom said, this is not fair. What just happened is not fair. Let's go and do a strike. We're not going to eat, and we're going to go in the border and go back because she already had bought an apartment, my savings. Like, I need to go back.
Mm.
Why we're here? And my mom was married to an American citizen. My dad was an American citizen, but we never had the papers. I don't know why. So my mom was saying, like, my kids, their dad is an American citizen. So it was a very sad moment. Like, we got together with the coyotes. The coyotes are the people that cross you back to the US.
Mm.
And the stories were crazy. They were scary. My mom said, you know what? I'm going to go back to the US for a dream that we have. You guys need to have a better future. I'm not going back to our country because a lot of things happened to us and she didn't feel safe there. And she sent us back to our country. It was a very sad moment because I had to reinvent myself. And years passed, living with different family members. I didn't have a normal family, but I always had something in my heart that wanted more. I started going to medical school, which is a big achievement because getting into medical school is not easy.
Mm.
And we still try to get our papers, like our residency, going to the embassy, but they will tell us, oh, your dad is an American citizen, but he never paid taxes. So we save up money. We were paying those taxes, but I was like, you know what? We're just never going to go back to the US. I'm never going to see my mom again. I was already becoming a doctor. And then one day we get these envelopes, and the envelopes say, you got the residency. You have 6 months to leave your country to go back to the US. And if you don't go, you lose your residency. I was debating. I'm like, should I finish med school and become a doctor here, or should I go back to the US? But I always had this drive that I wanted to see my mom again and be with her. So we came to the US, and this time I said to myself, I'm going to take all the opportunities that I can. And I always had this drive to help people. I graduated from college. While I was going to college, my mom didn't really have the money to pay for school. So I would do extraordinary things to get money. And one of those things, I remember that there was a contest. And if you win, you would win $60,000. I said to myself, I'm going to win this contest no matter what. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I already been too rough and I need money to pay for my college. So I went to tell everybody, please vote for me, vote for me. Guess what? One day I woke up and I won this contest. So I won $60,000. And the contest was to take photos for a company, so to be the image for that company.
Mm-hmm.
And I never did modeling or anything, but it just came natural. So it was a talent, a hidden talent that I
Right.
had. And I feel like when you are in this survival mode, you do
Mm-hmm.
whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the amazing things that I said, wow, when I commit to something, I can do so much. I don't know if my story is getting long.
No, 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 no,
You
no.
want?
It's beautiful. I'm listening. I want to hear more.
Okay. So
So you
I
won the
graduated from college.
60,000. You paid it to
Yes.
college. You took the
And I remember
60,000.
telling
You
my
paid
mom,
for
like,
school.
Mommy, I won this for us. And she was so happy for us. So I graduated from college and I started studying marketing at the same time. So I worked for Johnson and Johnson, which is a big
Mm.
company, and I was doing medical sales. I was one of the best salespeople. So I feel like it's something that you just have when you haven't had a lot of opportunities, and when you see opportunities, you're
Yes.
hungry for them,
Yes.
for sure. And I always had this drive to help people. So while I was doing medical sales, making money, I was like, you know what? I don't feel fulfilled. I feel like I gotta help someone. And then an opportunity came to me, which was with an organization called Kids Safe. And these organizations was bringing kids from Colombia. And when I found out
Mm.
that they were bringing kids from Colombia that were never adopted in Colombia to find a second chance, I related with these kids because at one point I felt like I didn't really have a family. So I brought kids here to the US for a month and I would make events for them every month, every week. So people would come and meet the kids to see if they wanted to adopt them. And they were all older kids.
Mm.
I remember to hear so many sad stories. And I remember the story of this kid, Sebastian, that he thought his mom was the grandma, but the grandma rejected him and sent it with a girl that was super young. And apparently that was his mom. And he thought that was the sister. She
Mm.
couldn't really take care of him. So she sent him with an uncle. One day, the uncle, he would tell me like he remembers selling coffee for food back in my country. And I remember at that time I was already married and I'm like, I want to adopt this child. I want him. I would tell my husband and he's like, no, but you're pregnant. How come you're going to adopt a child that you don't know if it's going to bring us trouble or not? So I tried so hard and I found a family for this kid. I still talk to him. He's been in
Mm.
the US for 5 years. A family of 4 kids adopted him. And it's amazing how you have these families, like they already have 4 kids. How can they adopt another
Mm.
kid? And these stories like this made me so happy because there is nice people that do things for others, and it gives you hope that there is still a lot of people that are
Yes.
willing to. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So then a year ago, for that drive to still help, I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to help Latino women in this country because when we come here, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to take all the opportunities. Sometimes we don't know who to talk to. And the Latino community in the US is like 86 million people. So I
Yeah.
feel like we need to help each other. And what I do for these women is we make events every single month to empower them, to bring them the tools with experts that they can grow in their business, that they can help them how to make a business. Then I coach them every month on marketing. I do interviews for them so their businesses, people get to know their businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been an amazing experience. I've been hearing so many successful stories. So what I want to tell with my story is that when you have this purpose in life, it's something in your heart that calls you for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it that I've been helping so many women, kids, and that makes me satisfied. And right now, if I would go back to making thousands of dollars, like I feel more satisfied helping people and doing and working with my community. And imagine to do an event every single month is like a marathon. It's
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah. It's not
but I
easy.
do it for them. And my mom tells me all the time, like, why do you kill yourself for others always? And I feel like that's my purpose. That makes me happy.
But it's a beautiful purpose.
Yeah.
It's more fulfilling than making money. I was in finance, and I was making a lot of money, and I quit, and I'm actually happier now that I'm doing what I'm
Oh,
doing with Compassiviste, because making people happy, making change, making life easier for others, reducing suffering in any capacity, the fulfillment from being able to do this is so much more powerful than more money, especially when you have money. It just doesn't bring you fulfillment after. In the beginning, it's
yeah.
beautiful, but as the money just piles up, you start feeling like, what is this more million going to do for me? Nothing. So it's not exciting. In the beginning, it's very exciting, and then it just dies out. And you realize it's not a purpose to live to be rich, is not a purpose. But because everybody wants that American dream, we all start there. We all start with this idea that the most important thing is to be rich, and then we find out it's actually not. But it's sometimes too late,
Yes.
because you spent a whole life trying to be rich. But I love what you're doing, and I love the passion, and I hear the work that you're doing, and the way you're bringing Latinas together, because there's a lot of network, and building a community together. And I hear from your events that it's not a specific category or demographic or group. It's an open event for everybody to come, and everybody to join, and everybody to meet, and everybody to learn from your events. And there could be people who are making a lot of money who attend, and there could be people who just arrived into the country and they really don't know what they're doing, and they get mentorship, they get guidance. People connect, people work together there. What are the stories? What are some of the success stories that drive you still? Because, like you said, month in, month out, doing this is not easy, right?
Yes.
And the way
Yes.
your
It's
mom
very.
tells you, it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort. But there must be some silver lining. There must be a rainbow that makes you say, wow, that story alone is worth pushing for.
Yes, I know. I hear beautiful stories. I promote myself on social media, so a lot of people see my face on social
Mm.
media. There was one girl that told me that she was depressed, and she said, every time I saw your stories, I skip it when you were inviting me to your community, because I felt that I was not good enough, that maybe I was not going to feel welcome. And one day I started listening more, and I went to your events, and you made me get out of bed and start my business. And now I have a drive, and I have connected with people that make me feel good about myself. So that's one of the stories that I heard. I've heard from people that they didn't feel comfortable being in front of the camera because how they look. And I told them, like, you think I care, or you think other people are focusing on what you look? People focus more on what you have to say. And if you
Mhm.
have something powerful to say, people will connect with you. So she also told me, like, you changed the way I look at myself. You have changed the way I see life. And I hear stories all the time, like my business wasn't doing well, and when you told me to follow this advice, I'm being successful and I'm selling, and that makes me so happy.
And
Yeah.
it's also breaking some of the elitism in certain communities, because I traveled through the US a lot, and I had friends in the US from all the way San Diego and Tijuana border. And I used to cross over to Tijuana a lot, to go down there, have party, have a good time, and then come back to the stateside. But all the way to New York. And like you said, there's over 80 million people. And in those 80 million people, you have literally billionaires, and you have people who are struggling for the next meal. Um, and sometimes when there aren't people like you who can bring the community together based on the roots of the community, based on that family bond and community bond, which is inherent in the Latin culture, because maybe through media and through movies, you see Colombia and you think um, Narcos and all these things, and you think movies like Scarface and whatnot. But the truth is, I've traveled through Colombia, I've traveled through a lot of South America, and It's not like that. It's a people of love, of culture, of compassion, of family values. And
Yes.
when you do your events and when you present these spaces where these cultures can be tightened again, I feel that that empowers people to feel connected, and it lifts them, right? Because you could come to the country and get your first job as a janitor or whatever it may be, but you may have a skill. You may be an amazing painter, for example. When you show up at these events, there may be people who can afford to buy your painting, who can afford to give you a job or something else, and it kind of connects and lifts people up. And I've seen people doing this like yourself, and it's really amazing because that breaks down the
Yes.
discrimination. And for me, that's the most important thing, the breaking of the discrimination and the empowerment of security. Because again, unfortunately, in today's world, there's a lot of crime and there's a lot of danger.
Yes.
And a lot of people, like you said, they come from Colombia, Argentina, Venezuela, where Cuba, wherever it may be, and they land on the shores of the United States with a lot of naivety, and
Yes.
they get into a lot of trouble. But when they have a community, I feel there's a lot more safety in that. Do you have anything to share there about how you're bringing that as well?
Now that I've been talking to so many women, there is a big issue. I don't know if it's in all the cultures or I see it more in the Hispanic culture. A lot of girls have told me stories that they have been raped. So I feel that I don't know if it's something in our culture by family members, and I feel like we need to stop that. And I always feel this call to always tell moms to be aware, to hear
Mm.
their kids, because I remember a lot of girls telling me like, "No, I told my mom that my uncle did it, but she didn't believe me, or she loved so much her boyfriend that she was blind." So I always feel that we need to have this call for women to speak up for themselves, and for the parents to be aware of something suspicious.
And also the fear of police. From my experience with the Latin community, there is this stigma of going to the police because they feel like the police will not represent the best interests of a Latin person, a Hispanic person.
Yes.
So they don't go. Like that, the young girl you're talking about, she will not tell anybody in school. She will not tell anybody, go to the police, or anything like that, because she feels like maybe nobody will believe her, and she'll just carry the trauma with her. And I think
Yes.
some of that is important too, in the sense of changing the culture.
Yes. And protecting the kids.
Yes.
And also from the kids that I have brought from Colombia to be adopted, a lot of them had those cases. And I don't know if you
So,
hear it from other cultures, but it's something that in the Hispanic culture is a big issue.
do you know why, or do you have any theories why? From what you're seeing, do you have any theories why you feel like there's a big rape culture in the Hispanic community?
No.
You've heard the
I feel
stories, but you never have an idea of what you feel could be some of the
I
reasons.
feel that just men don't respect women, or that they feel more entitled or more machismo.
Yes. Well, the
And
reason I
also,
ask you that is because, at Compassiviste, we have charities around. We have one in the US, one in the UK, in the EU, and in Brazil. And the reason we have ours in Brazil is because a friend of mine, Juliana, she's a lawyer in Brazil. And she started her own office so that she can help women in domestic violence situations in Brazil. And in the southern state of Brazil she's in, there is approximately 500 restraining orders issued daily, for abuse and for sexual abuse and abuse in general, and violence, domestic violence. And so she was helping a few women, but she couldn't really do that much. So when I was speaking to her one time, I was speaking with her and I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she's very frustrated. I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Well, I'm trying to help, but I can only help so many people alone. And because there's hours of the day and I can only go to one court." So I said, "How can we do something about this?" And so we came together, we posted her support on our programs and started raising money for her. And now she's helping, I think, about 300 women in Brazil, on a monthly basis with therapy, with food, with relocating them away from the abusive spouses, helping them with their children, going to court for them, representing them legally, so many things, that we're doing. And it's really, really, in American dollars, it's very cheap, because each woman's annual cost is about $20 for therapy and all those things. But with $20, there's a lot you can do in her state in Brazil. So, every month. And so I see that recurring a lot. When you said, the machismo that you said is something that I see recurring a lot in the Latin and the South American, from Mexico all the way to or Argentina. I see it a lot, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know why it is, but I think because it's a very patriarchal culture where
Yes,
the
the
man,
men are more
yes,
powerful than women.
yes,
Yes,
yes, and I think
women have to be submissive to men.
yes, yes. And I think even economically, it's not very helpful because, for example, you could be an independent, successful Latina woman, but somehow, even with that, financial independence, you can be in a relationship with an abusive man. And in a way, you accept it because you say, well, this is how our men are. If he hits you, you
Yes,
say, well, our men are just like that. They're short tempered, they're violent. And you sort of accept it on yourself, even though you don't need this in your life. Right. And I think it becomes this cultural perpetuation of the violence that we allow on ourselves. And I kind of
yes,
see that. And then I see, when you're a young girl, I mean, when you look up, who do you see? You see the other women in your family, and you see them being abused and accepting it. So it becomes kind of your feeling that this is part of your rights of growing up. As you grow up as a woman, you're going to get hit, you're going to get raped, you go through these things because you're a woman. And so they start believing into that.
yes,
And I think, what you're doing, I like what you're doing, because on the flip side of the fun side of what you're doing is the real side, that women now have a place where they can find support, where they can lean on each other, where they can come to you. And
feel
like that girl,
comfortable.
yeah,
Yes,
like that girl who said, I've been raped. Her mom won't believe her, but you'll believe her. And that gives her a place
yes,
to say, this is not right. I can go to Paulina, and she will be my rock. She will help me, she will support me, she'll find a way to do something for me. And I think,
yes,
for me, that is so much more powerful than people coming there and being able maybe to make more money, or some or come there for the purpose of economic gain, as opposed to the people that you are able to help and save through your community. So I really love,
yes.
that you're doing it in
And
that
I
way.
noticed that they also come for that support, that emotional
Yes,
support
yes, yes. and
for
and
their
that's so
basic
huge.
stuff.
Right, and that's really beautiful.
Yes.
Do you think Latina women still have to work so much harder than Latino men, or men in general, in the US for the same results? Because again, speaking of, your culture, there's a lot of pressure and a lot of weight on the women, for taking care of children and household stuff. So much is thrown on women, right? It's not a balanced kind of state. So what do you say about that?
Yeah, I definitely think there is more pressure on women than men. You have to work, take care of your men, take care of the house. There is a lot of single moms here. So they have to work, they have no choice, and then take care of their kids. But I feel like if you are a guy, then your only responsibility is to work, show up to your house, and everything should be done.
Yes, everything should be ready, right? That is the
Yes.
that is the ideology there. How do you think we can break this? What would be your advice to, for people listening? There will
Hmm.
be younger people listening to this. I want you
Yes.
to tell younger versions of yourself what
Yeah,
you
my
did to break
advice.
that.
Yeah, my advice to women is to speak up for themselves. If both of you guys work, then everything should be balanced at home too. And if you are a single mom, just have your kids help you and just speak up. Because I know a lot of females, they just stay quiet because they feel afraid that their man is going to leave them or is going to find someone better than them. And I just feel that men should also help at home. In the Hispanic community, that's not a rule. Usually the girls do everything and the guys just show up, and you should have food for them, clean the house. And I see that judging also from girls too. Like a lot of my Hispanic friends, they tell me, but you work and then when you come home, you don't do everything. I'm like, no, I don't.
And that's wrong.
So if I don't feel like cleaning,
And for
yes.
some
And I
women,
feel
that's
like it should
wrong.
be a team with your husband.
Yes, 100%. There should be teamwork. That's for 100%. But
Yeah, you should
like you said,
communicate.
some of it I think is also fear based. You're in this new country, you've arrived, you don't want to lose, and losing your partner is a loss in itself, right? Because you feel like, okay, how am I going to make this on my own? And maybe there's a fear. A lot of it is also financial because some of the women aren't working or aren't in jobs that will support themselves fully, so they feel like they have to put in that much more effort to be able to make ends meet,
Yes,
which is sad, right?
yes. And I also feel from the Hispanic community that if you are there for your kids every day, if you cook for them, if you do everything for them, then you are a good mom. If you are
Mm.
a working mom and then you cannot be so much at home, that's considered a bad mom. Because I
Yes,
heard from people.
yes, you're very right.
And
You're very right.
yes,
And that's an issue
I'm
on
a
its
mom
own.
and
Yeah.
yes,
You're a mom, but you're at work, so you're not a good mom, Paulina. That's the old mentality, right?
yes,
And you know, to lead into a question I want to ask you about finance, I think that is part of the financial abuse of some relationships because you're successful, you're powerful. You are a powerful woman as your own presence, right? And you're able to fight, you're able to speak up, you're not scared. But and a lot of women don't have that. They have that fear in them, and they feel like, I don't have money, my husband or my man works and he brings in the money, and I'm supposed to have everything else beautiful. And they feel like if they don't have that, or if they lose that relationship, there's also a financial comfort or some minimal financial viability that is lost because they go out on the street and they don't have any of those things to fall back on. So how much of that plays on the immigrant community, generally the newer people, the newer women who come to the US from South America? They may be more susceptible to financial abuse because some person will date them, or they'll move in together and they'll say, hey, I'm bringing the money, I'm putting roof over our head, I'm bringing food to the table, and you have to clean and cook and do this and do that and don't talk. And they
yeah.
feel
I've
stuck.
heard that from past relationships that the guy tell me, no, you cannot work. You have to stay at home doing everything for the family. If you work, then you're not the right person for me. And I also hear it from the women that come to my community. They were like, no, my husband doesn't want me to be here because he thinks that I'm going to become more powerful than him and he doesn't want that.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I feel like it comes a lot from men too, but I think a lot of females are afraid to speak
And
up.
a lot of
And I
what
think
you
that
say
we
all
should,
the time is that, yeah, you keep saying that. You keep saying women should speak up, women should speak up. And that's one of your messages, right? I mean, you want women to speak up and not be submissive anymore. You want them to kind of rise. And if there's
yes,
something we can say that we can pick up from your events, it's that. It's you want women to come together, use each other as comfort, use each other as support, and to stand up and not be in a state of fear.
yes. Or a lot of women, they put up with their men cheating just because the guy supports them.
Yes, that's what I mean. And that's really difficult because if she has a support group like you're presenting them and building for them, then she can tell somebody there, look, I want to leave, but I have one suitcase and myself, and I have nowhere to go and no money. And maybe the other woman there will say, okay, come to my house until you get on your feet, right? That allows her to walk out of that abusive relationship. But when you don't have that, you have to stay, because the reality is we live in a capitalistic world that you cannot go to the supermarket and say, I have personal issues, please give me free food. Nobody cares. So the care happens in communities like what you're building, in your events.
Yeah.
Once a month, women can come there and say, maybe this time I will meet somebody who can help me through my problem. Maybe Paulina can help me through my problem, right? And that builds on that financial abuse.
Yes. And you know what? I don't want to segregate the women that don't work, because there is a lot of women that don't work, but I always give them the advice: have something for yourself. What makes
Yes.
you happy? Do that brings you to life, that gives you joy. Because sooner or later, your kids are going to leave the house. And what do you have for yourself? Or what if your significant other is not there for you? So, what are your hobbies that will keep you alive?
Yes, and I think it's a historical issue because we live in this idea. A lot of men and women live with this idea that there's nothing wrong with a woman staying at home, for example, and the man working. And there is absolutely nothing wrong if that's the choice that you want to make. But the problem is, hundreds of years ago, when this was the norm, women stayed at home and the men, worked and brought in the money that sustained the home, and the woman really, sustained the home itself. And what ended up happening is there was a common understanding. The divorce rates weren't that high. People just separating so easily weren't as high. There was really something that held people together in a relationship, in a marriage, in a family. There was a stronger bond. Today, I see people who are, brothers and sisters, they don't talk to each other because, things have changed so much in our human cultures. And we've evolved so much, for the worse, for the best, but we've evolved so much. And today, you cannot use the same metrics. Like you said, if today you stay at home and you raise lovely children, and they go to university and they get a beautiful education and they have careers and they have a life and they have beautiful families of their own, that's you're doing as a mother. But then, at a drop of a hat, your husband may decide to go out and meet someone new and tell you, you know what, I don't want to live with you anymore. That mother's life deteriorates so much versus the father, because that's the way the world is designed today. So you're absolutely right. You have to continuously create something for yourself that keeps you confident, keeps you secure, gives you that feeling of you're protected somehow, so that if life
Yeah.
is beautiful, there's nothing wrong. If life is not so beautiful, you also have a boat that you're not going to drown. That's the
Yes.
important
And that's
thing.
another purpose I see my events, for people to get out of their routine and
Mm.
find comfort, or find someone that they can listen to them without judging.
Yes, and yeah, exactly. So the financial empowerment of your events, and the marketing aspect, and what you do for businesses in your community, that's great. And it's part of the security that you can build for them. It's part of giving them more freedom through more finance, security. But also, I think the emotional part and the ability to empower women in the Latino community is what I admire. Like, I'm honored to be talking to you, because for me, that is the PowerPoint. It's that you come from a culture that women are not empowered and there's no equality. And I'm not Latin, but I can say this because you agree with me. Every Latin woman that I speak with agrees with me. So it is the case, that there's no equality across the board. But in that inequality, here you are, sitting in front of me with all the power. So it's
Yeah.
admirable, and you're trying to give that power to people. So I really love that. And in your events, you also bring in other women like yourself, because I know Adriana from Adriana Insurance. She's huge in the
Yeah.
United States, right? She's a big person,
Yeah.
and she started from at Carl's, working there, and so look at her now, and she gives millions
Yeah.
to the Latino community, and she's a huge donor, and she's amazing. And when you bring her there, and
Yeah.
other people can sit within 20 feet of her and see and kind of hear her speak and vision themselves in her, then you kind of feel like, if she did it, even if
I
I'm
can
not
do
at
it.
that level, even if I do it half as much, I'm so much better off than where I am, you know? And the thing
Yeah.
is, a lot of the Latinas that are successful in the US, they don't have parents who sent them to the US with $10 million. They came literally crossing
No.
the border like you, 3 days and stuck and go back. And
Hustle.
there are so many. I know a couple of Latina women who some of the wealthiest, and if I tell you their backstories, you'd be like, "There's no way that woman came from there." It's such a from a little village in the middle of nowhere, Venezuela. All of a sudden, you are living the dream, the real American dream, and it only goes to show how powerful Latina women are. Really, if you
Yeah.
if you stop allowing this dismissal. There's something I learned from a monk once, and so I was traveling, and we were on horses, and we reached somewhere to stop and get drink from the river, and the monk, he took the rein for the rope from the horse, and wrapped it around the tree. It just pushed it around the tree and let it drop to the floor, and he walked away. And I said, "But the horse is going to go." And he said, "No, the horse is never going to go." And the horse is not going. He said, "Just throw it behind the tree." So I throw my rein behind the tree, and I go get drink, and we come. I said, "Why?" He said, "Because the horse believes that I tied it behind the tree." So he thinks in his
Ah,
head, this rope is tied. Even if it's not tied, the image of the rope behind the tree for him is closed. It's a tied tree, because the horse is like this. It's not thinking. It's not going to try.
yeah,
Sometimes people are like that. They think that this is it.
yeah,
They don't even try. If you came to the US and you didn't have all this belief that you have in you, and you didn't push yourself really hard and take those opportunities and be hungry, maybe you would have been one of these women sitting at home and hoping that your boyfriend or your husband comes home tonight, and there's nothing you can do about it.
yes.
But it's a mentality.
Yeah, and I always tell women to trust that process and embrace the weaknesses when you don't feel well, but just keep trying and pursue those dreams. And you will see the results sooner or later.
Yeah, you just have to push through
And
it and,
now
get
that
there.
we're here speaking, I always feel this desire to tell people that it's not all about making money, to always think
Mm.
about helping others. Because I feel like if we all help someone, you'll see a change in this world.
Of course, because you
So,
lift
yes.
everybody, right? I mean, you're creating this huge wave that lifts all the boats, not just one or two or the big ones. Now, you're doing something amazing. We always want to be part of something amazing like what you're doing. For our audience who are in your region, in Southern California, the Latinas who are in Southern California who may have not heard about you, because I know everybody I know knows about you. So I can't really promote you because all the Latinas I know you.
Hello.
But for those who don't know you and who may be listening, how do they become part of Mujeres Sin Límites? What do they do? How do they get a hold of you?
So I want people to follow us on Instagram. The Instagram is at Eventos Mujeres. And my you can follow me on my Instagram, Paulina Thomas 0. And we have events every single month. I also have a website. So just follow us on Instagram and you're going to find out all the events. I want you to join this community. My goal, I also have memberships. My goal is to have more than 100 members in my membership this year.
And it will happen because you're doing something amazing and wonderful for people. So I can tell you it will happen. Now, you are
Wow.
also very charitable. Who do you help? Why do you support charity?
I feel that this drive that I feel so blessed to have more than enough. I feel like if we have a house, if we can pay our bills, if we have food, then we have room to help others. And there is a lot of people in need.
Hmm.
So definitely I have 3 kids in Colombia that I help every month. I send them for their school, for books, for food. And I see how these families struggle. And you have to just trust. Sometimes people tell me, no, don't trust. They're going to take advantage of you.
Yes.
And if you really get to know these people, just trust them because sometimes we just waste our money in things that we don't even need.
Hmm.
And even if it's not with money, you can just volunteer, like how I did it for so many years, making events for people to come and meet these kids. So these are my charities. I work with Kids Safe. It's an amazing organization in the US
Hmm.
that brings kids from all over the world. They focus a lot on kids from Russia, from Colombia, because they tell me that the government don't have as much regulations to bring these kids to the US.
Okay. So Kids Safe it is. people will look into that and try to support them and try to support the work you're doing with the children, and maybe reach out to you and try to help you help the children. And now we at Compassiviste Foundation, we're actually considering a scholarship program for children of all ages, from low-income backgrounds and people who can migrate if they had the funding to get better education so that they can create a better space. So
Oh,
I know, yeah, and I know you love working with children and you love working with helping them and giving them education so that they can kind of fight their way out of the cycle of poverty. And that's one way to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm also inviting you to join us and, push this, and we will fund it, we will finance it, we will fundraise for it, and you can essentially be the front runner here and say, okay,
I
we're going to
love
go to
it.
Colombia and we're going to help these children go to university or go to school or do something like that. We'll create whatever package it is, however
That's
much
an
it costs.
amazing
Yeah,
surprise.
and we'll support you
I
do
make
that.
so
Yeah, because that's the idea of
happy.
Compassiviste. That's what Compassiviste does. We find people who really put their heart in the work, because charity is not supposed to be an office. It's not supposed to be a business. It's not supposed to be salaries and expenses. It's supposed to be a bunch of people with heart coming together. And one person says, you know what, if I had $100, I would buy these three people guitars, and they'll make a band and they'll do so well, and then they'll help three more people. And that's what it's supposed to be. It's a communal effort. You're doing that. And I feel like
Yeah.
I'm in a much better space allowing you to do that with the resources that we can bring to the table to help you do that, as opposed to me going to some big organization, going to UNICEF, going to the Red Cross and saying, here's $1 million, do with it what you want. And so much of that $1 million, it's not actually going to the places that you want them to go. So, you are
That
helping
makes me
three
so happy.
families. Yeah, you're helping three families in Colombia. You know them, you speak with them, you send them money, you know what's happening in their lives. All the money is going there. If you have $100 that you're giving them, all of that $100 is going there, right? It's going to something. It's not going to advertising costs, marketing, websites, tech support, staffing, licensing, legal. All of that takes it away from that $100. I rather
Yes.
work with community building. I rather have Paulina and a million Paulinas with me doing different things that another million people can support. And that's the way to
I love
grow.
it. I have someone I know from Colombia. She has a house, and in this house, she has kids, and these kids don't have families. And she asks me every month, hey, I need to get money for this, for this. And it's amazing what they're doing, because there is not enough homes to have all these children that don't have families anymore.
So we help them. That's what we do. We join hands and we help
Yeah.
them. That's how Compassiviste Brazil with Juliana happened. I had no intention of going to Brazil because I don't know anybody in Brazil, but Juliana is a friend, and so she said, I'm doing this. I said, okay, say no more. Go register Compassiviste Foundation as a charity in Brazil. I will fundraise here around the world, because $20 to help a woman out of getting beaten up, you got to think about it.
Yeah.
Domestic violence is not, some small thing. I mean, you're in fear, you could die. $20 to help one woman come out of that situation. Many people are spending $20 at Starbucks. One coffee, one
Yes.
cake or something, boom, $20. And with that, with that,
Yeah.
with that, just one day of your month of that, you're helping a woman come out. So I rather support Juliana than have Starbucks. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So here's the same
Yeah. And
thing.
I live in the US, and I feel like here there is so much opportunity, so many organizations, but in
Yes.
third world countries, there is nothing.
No, no.
Like, you see these kids, and I'm like, my gosh, these kids are starving when you see them so skinny.
Yes, yes. And there is, there's no infrastructure for that kind of support, and it's really difficult. And some of the foreign organizations that go there don't really change their lives. They just keep the poverty at a level that is safe. They will, just like in Africa, they feed the children enough that they don't die, but they're not doing anything more. The child is alive, but it's going to suffer for 20 years until it dies at an older age, because after feeding the child, you're not giving them books, you're not giving them education, you're not giving them protection, you're not giving them national security. There's so many terrorist organizations, drug cartels. I mean, in Colombia, do you know how many children go into prostitution, trafficking, drugs, and all those things, because they don't even have somebody to look for them. Here's a 12-year-old girl
No choice.
who has not even choice. There's nobody to even support, protect her. Nobody can hug her and hold her.
No,
Yeah. So who's going to stop them? They're going to just take her. And I think we need people like you, but we need 1 million people like you so that we can make a lot of change. That is why community building is so important. That is why I want to talk to you. That is why I really, when I say I'm honored, to join forces with you, it's because you're the person who's creating the community. You're the person who has built a community. So now what we do is we come to this community and we say, hey, we have this program. We all support. Everybody gives $1. We all support. We build it up, and we can help these people properly.
that is so happy.
That's what we're going to do.
I'm so glad I met you.
No. I'm glad I met you, because you are doing the work. I'm just here trying to support you. You are the light that we're following guidance with. So
Yes.
thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for trusting.
Thank you for, I trust you for sure, because you know what? It's not blind trust. I know a lot of people who speak highly of you in your community. I know a lot of people who attended your events and have told me stories. Somebody told me they attended your event and there was a lady there, and she was working as housekeeping in different homes, and she had a natural talent for making floral arrangements and bouquets and stuff. And she was asking people, if you want floral arrangements, I work out of my house, I can make really nice ones. And she was showing on her phone, and some people started ordering from her. So this gives her a boost. It lifts her up. Maybe she can save enough money in a couple of years to open a flower shop. And that is the passion that she has, the talent that she has. You're making this possible, by making this event.
That just make earrings, and I'm like, you can be amazing doing these earrings.
Exactly. So, that's why it's important to have people like you, because that's what Compassiviste is about. It's about compassionate activism and bringing the collective together. And you're doing that. So you are a natural member of what I'm trying to make happen. So thank you for being who you are, Paulina. And thank you for being here.
I hope one day you can come with me to Colombia and we can see all those results that we were
I know. Building. I was there many years ago. And I remember when I was there in Bogota, there was the Hyatt, I think it was the Hyatt Regency, which was the nice hotel there back then. This is like 15, 20, almost 20 years ago. And I'm so upset with myself now, because back then I could have bought, a friend of mine who went with me there was buying real estate to develop. And back then you could have bought these big, beautiful farmlands, in beautiful scenery and beautiful spaces. And it was really cheap. And I wanted to back then to buy one and make it a football academy, because one of my friends was a football coach. And he moved to Brazil.
Amazing.
Yeah, and he's a coach of one of the Brazilian soccer football teams. And when he was in Colombia, he always wanted the land to make the football, because there's a lot of talent, but the talent leave the country because there's no development in sport. So as soon as there's a good football player who's Colombian, they move. And so he wanted to do that. And I was going to do that. And then I got scared because Colombia, and I didn't know anything. So I didn't do it. But I wish I had done it. But you have a beautiful country.
Yeah, there's nothing to be afraid of.
No, there isn't, actually, because when I was there for 3 weeks and I went across the country and nothing happened. There was no fear. But, in the media, and when you live in you live in Canada and the US, and, you say, I'm doing business in Colombia, it's just, there's that. You get scared. So that was what stopped me, I guess. But yeah, we're going to go to Colombia again. And this time we're going to help people and see what we're doing. Fair?
I love it. Yeah,
Perfect.
thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank
Well,
you for all
no,
these opportunities.
thank you very much. And thank you for being here today. I encourage everyone tuned in to get involved with Paulina's events if you aren't already. And even, you know what, men as well, join and go to these events, because if you're a man who has crossed over that machismo state, and you are a feminist in a sense, and you believe that you want to support women, you have a daughter, you have a wife you love, you have a sister, you have a mother, all of us have mothers. These are women, they're the same as the women that you date. They're, respect them in the same way, because the same way you respect your mom, when your mom was 50 years younger, she was the girl, the same girl who met a man just like you. So when you mistreat women, remember there could have been a man that would have mistreated your mom or your daughter one day. It's not just you, it's the whole society. So men should join and should learn and should support and should advocate and should uplift, because we all have the right to feel safe, to feel equal, and to have hope in our lives. And so attend her events and subscribe to our podcast so we can bring you more stories from Paulina and others, and share this with as many friends as you have, so we can help Paulina get more people involved, so we can help more. And we'll have all the links below so everybody can see.
You want to follow me on Instagram?
Yeah.
Paulina Thomas 0.
We'll put your Instagram and your website and everything there so everybody can see it and join. And hopefully we can make an impact together with growing this. We're here to help change the world together with lovely people like Paulina. So join us and support this growth. Thank you. I'm Ali Horia.
Thank you, Ali.